All right, good morning, folks. This is Jason with the Primal Outdoors channel. And can these Dnsys X1 Exoskeleton legs be the future of hiking into the backcountry? Let's find out. Now, full disclosure, this Dnsys X1 Carbon Exoskeleton was sent for review by the company, but after looking at their Kickstarter page, this thing was just way too interesting for me to pass up, and I definitely wanted to check it out. Now, before we get into the meat of the review, I'm just going to tell you guys right off, this is not going to turn you into Steve Austin, the $6 million man. Nor is it going to put you in line to become the next Avenger. What it can do is augment your current physical capability, or on the flip side, it can assist your current training efforts by providing resistance. Go to the resistance mode, and I really like that, actually. I can definitely feel the resistance against my legs. It's smooth, it's not jarring. I don't feel like it would injure me in any way. It's just very much similar to being like in a pool, or, you know, walking in water or swimming. It's that kind of resistant feeling. Now, in this review, I am not going to waste your time going over specs. All of that information is available on their Kickstarter page. You can also find information about the founders of the Dnsys Exoskeleton, and you can also find other reviews from YouTubers like myself. With that said, we will go over a few of the specs while I'm demonstrating the unit, and when I go over some of the pros and cons that I came up with using this unit over the past few weeks. All right, so let's talk a little bit about getting this unit set up so that you can use it for the first time. Now, the unit does come in a really nice case that will keep it protected whenever you're not using it or when you're transporting it from one place to the next. But once you get it out, you are going to want to get a few things set up. And the first thing you want to do is take a look at the Quick Start app. This will tell you how to put the unit on. It will also help you get set up with getting the app loaded on your phone. The app does work on iOS and Android. The app isn't completely necessary for using the unit. It does assist you in being able to change modes and also get a visual of what the unit is doing for you, but you can use the unit without the app just fine. When you first start up the app, you are going to have to create an account and get signed up, and then once you're done with that, you can power up the unit and get connected. Now, you will have to have the unit on, which I'll demonstrate in a minute. Then once you're connected, you can actually get into the app, and it will show you things like how many paces you've taken. It'll allow you to switch between the modes, and it will also give you a nice little graph showing the unit actually how much assistance it's giving you in different areas. So the app is useful, but again, like I said, it's not absolutely necessary to the use of the unit. Now, one thing I noticed that when I first powered up the unit is that the app wasn't working the way I expected. When I tried to switch the modes, it wouldn't do anything. When I tried to switch the modes on the buttons that are on the unit itself, it still wouldn't do anything. Okay. So as it is right now, I've been trying to use their app and I cannot seem to get it to change modes. And one thing that did seem to be missing, a little tidbit of information that was in here, is once you power up the unit with the button on the back, you have to give it a double press, and then that activates the unit, and you can actually feel the unit kind of engage once you do that. Once you've done that, now you can actually switch in the app the modes, or you can switch the modes here. But it's one thing that I noticed that they were missing in the quick start guide. I talked to the company about that, and I'm assuming that they will update this guide in the future. All right, so let's talk about putting the unit on. So first thing is on the back, on your waist belt, there's going to be a button right above where the battery plugs in. This will give you some adjustment. You can actually move it in and out so that you can adjust it for your waist size. Once you've got that adjusted the way you want, you have a Velcro strap. I like to leave mine inside the little buckle here. It just makes it a little bit easier. And then I put the unit on like I was putting on a pair of trousers. I just find this a little bit easier because I feel like trying to get the strap woven through the buckle can be a little bit challenging. So if you do it the way I just did it, you can just pull them up and then you can just strap the strap over and it velcros on to your waist. Make sure the unit is well centered, and then you can start to hook your legs up. Now the legs have a strap as well, and that strap can be adjusted right here, as well as it has a little twist knob that you can use to adjust it right on the side. So first of all, get this strap adjusted to where you can comfortably pull the strap around and get it to latch. There's going to be a little piece of orange paracord here. It loops over a hook, and that should feel snug or be easy enough to put on, and then you should be able to now turn this knob to get the leg to be snugly to your leg. This is an adjustment you may have to play with a little bit, as you want it to be very snug so that you can take full advantage of the assistance. You don't want it to be sloppy on your leg or it's not going to work well. But you don't obviously want it so snug that it's going to cut off circulation to your leg. So this is just something that you will want to play with to get a good comfort, but also make sure that you're taking full advantage of the assistance that the exoskeleton can give you. And of course, you just do the same thing with the other leg. Okay, so now that the exoskeleton's on, you'll have in your kit, you'll get a cord like this. One end connects to the provided battery. And then the battery can clip on. There's a little space right here that the battery clips on, and that's where it stays while you're using it. And then the other end clips to the back of the exoskeleton, and you can see right back here that I am pushing it in right there. Now the exoskeleton is ready to go, so you can power the unit on. So long press the button on the back, you'll hear a little tone, and you'll feel a little something from the exoskeleton. But again, like I mentioned previously, it's not really ready to use until you reach back and give this button a double press. Now you can feel the exoskeleton actually engage a little bit, but it's going to be in the transparent mode, so it's not going to assist you in any way. You're not going to feel anything at this point, but it is going to allow you to now actually change the assistance. So from the app or from the buttons that you have on the side here, you have a minus on your left side and you have a plus on your right side. You can now change the assistance modes. From transparent mode, if I go down minus, it's going to take me into the resistance mode. And if from the transparent mode, if I press the plus button, it's going to engage one of the assistance modes. Now, real quickly, I want to talk about a couple quick pros and cons about the fitment of the unit. The first thing is the unit doesn't seem to impede any of my natural movements. And that was something I was a little bit concerned about, having these leg pieces here, whether or not things like sitting, squatting, bending down, any of that stuff would be difficult, because a lot of the things that I like to do is go hiking or shoot photography. And a lot of times I can find myself maneuvering into different positions in order to get certain shots. And I found the exoskeleton to be pretty much unnoticeable in that fact. I was able to squat, sit down, do whatever I want without any issue from the exoskeleton. And it was comfortable. Like after a while walking with it, I never really noticed that it was there, other than the sound, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But as far as it being on, like at some point, like I almost just semi-forget that it's there. It's fairly comfortable to wear. Now, one thing I will note is you'll see I'm wearing some lightweight hiking / hunting pants, and I would probably recommend doing that if you were going to wear shorts and your leg was exposed here where the strap is at. That could be a little bit uncomfortable, I imagine. So if you are going to wear shorts, I'd at least try to wear shorts that did extend down past where the leg attaches. Now, as far as the cons are concerned, the first one is where the power button's located. Like I talked about, it's back here, so you're kind of reaching back with your arms to try to find it. And to me, that little piece or that little unit that they have back here could have been like here or somewhere else to where it would have been right up front, so that way it would be easier to manage that power button. So my second con has to do with the waist belt. Now, like I said, it's comfortable enough once you're all set up and the unit is on you, but I find having to thread the strap through this buckle a little bit fiddly, and that's why I said when I was putting it on, I'd like to put it on like a set of trousers. I do think they could have just put a buckle like a regular backpack has, and that would have been a little bit easier to deal with. So my third con is going to be the motors, and you know, that is when you're walking, you're going to hear the motors activating, and you're going to sound like RoboCop when you're walking through the woods. And it's kind of cool for a while, but after a while it becomes a little bit distracting. So if you're out there and you're really wanting to enjoy the quiet and peace of nature, you're going to find the motors to be a little bit noisy and a little bit distracting. All right, so another issue that I'm kind of finding with this Dnsys exoskeleton is the waist belt, which I already suspected this, is interfering with the way my backpack needs to sit. So my backpack is actually sitting way higher because it's sitting on top of the Dnsys, which I'm not sure how that's going to affect me while hiking today. All right, so let's get down a little bit more into my thoughts of the exoskeleton and how it worked for me over the past few weeks. Now, for those that follow my channel, you guys know I like to spend my time outdoors. I like to do some hiking. I like to do some photographing. I like to fish and other activities. So I really wanted to try to use the exoskeleton in a way that made sense for me. Now, I'm not a runner, so I didn't spend a lot of time with it like that. I did run with it a couple times, and I can tell you that it does assist you when you run, but I wouldn't say it increased my overall stamina. And what I mean by that is, if whatever your stamina is at the point in time you put them on is going to be kind of what your stamina is going to be. If I ran 50 yards, without the exoskeleton, I was winded. When I ran 50 yards with the exoskeleton, I might have got there faster, but I was still winded at the end of it. I don't really think it's going to extend your stamina. It's not going to, like I said in the very beginning, you're not going to all of a sudden have superhuman strength. You're not going to be leaping tall buildings in a single bound or any of that stuff. Because we're going to get into a few of the things that I found that I felt like the unit really helped, and I'm going to talk about some things where I didn't think the unit did anything at all. All right, guys, so I'm just kind of walking along here on a dirt road, just getting my first impressions of these Dnsys exoskeleton legs, and I've tried all the modes so far, kind of walking up and down this road. And again, this is a flat surface. I want to get to some hilly terrain and try them out there, but right now walking on the flat surface in the assist mode, in the 3 different assist modes that I've tried, I don't really notice a lot unless you do very pronounced movements with your legs, like really lift your legs high and then bring them back down. But like my normal standard gait, I don't really notice a lot. I've used the unit in all 3 assist modes, the eco mode, the sport mode, and the boost. Honestly, eco I couldn't personally perceive any assistance or help in the eco mode when I had it in that mode. I could hear the motors working, I could hear that, but just walking with it, I just wasn't really feeling or seeing anything. I'm sure there probably was, but it was just so minor to me, it was, like I said, imperceivable. Now jumping all the way to the other end, to the boost mode, that you definitely can tell, and the more effort you put in, the more it will also put in. Kind of similar to riding e-bikes or something like that. Like some e-bikes, that the more effort you put in, the more effort the e-bike will put in, and you will kind of exponentially gain as that goes up, and I could definitely feel that in the boost mode. But I also concerned with the fact that I want to spend my time hiking and being in the backcountry, that I want the battery to last. So I felt like if I use the boost mode too much, that I could possibly run the battery down very quickly. So I chose sport mode for pretty much 95% of my testing. So that's I felt like that. I felt assistance, but I also felt like the unit wasn't consuming as much power. But then, like I said, I took the unit on a hike. I went down to a waterfall. It was very beautiful. But that hike was all downhill, which again, downhill, I didn't see that it assisted me too much because, you're just really not putting much effort going downhill. Now, one thing I didn't test as much as I probably should have is actually putting the unit into a resistance mode going downhill, because I know, like for myself sometimes, because you're going down and it's so simple that you can sometimes be, I don't know, lack of better words, a little bit sloppy with your walking, and having maybe in the first resistance mode would help maybe give you a little bit more control as you're going downhill. But I needed to test that more and I didn't, so I apologize about that. But where I really found the unit to be super helpful was any time that I was either going uphill or that I was lifting my leg over something. So that was the kind of obstacle I was actually hoping to run into on this trail. I just wanted to see what it was like climbing over some deadfall or having to step up and over something high like that. Now, these definitely give you some assistance when you're lifting your leg, but they do not give you any assistance the second part of the step, which is pushing down. So like if you're climbing something like that, and it will help you get your leg up on it, but when it comes to actually lifting yourself and getting up and over the obstacle, it does not assist you at all. So that was kind of interesting right there. I was playing with just stepping up and down on the picnic table like you saw. And I just wanted to get an idea how this exoskeleton was actually assisting me, where it's really helping me and where it's really not doing anything at all. And when it comes to stepping up onto this picnic table, it does help me lift my leg up onto the table. But once I make the step upward, it doesn't do anything. It's not doing anything to assist me in that shape. And that's the part that's the hardest when you're actually climbing a hill or going up steps or anything like that. It's that step up that is the hard part. The only thing the exoskeleton is actually doing is helping assist my leg getting up to the step. Now, the company does claim that the unit does provide a little downward assistance, but with all the testing that I did, I could not perceive any whatsoever. But even though it does or may only assist you with the step up, after I spent some time down at the waterfall shooting pictures and hanging out, I started working my way up, and it was very steep coming back out of there. All right, guys, well, we're continuing up this hill. I decided to go ahead and turn the legs off and unbuckle them from my legs so that I could just get back to feeling what it's like to hike with all the same weight without their assistance. And I will say, there's absolutely a difference. Downhill, flat ground, haven't really felt too much. Didn't think they were doing really anything for me. But going uphill, I can definitely say that they are helping me. So, but with that said, this is a pretty short hike. It's a pretty light pack, and I'm down to about 50% on those batteries. And I started it with 100%. So I guess I also want to back up that last statement with, if you're not in good shape, don't think you're going to throw these things on and be able to tackle difficult trails, because even with them on and even with the assistance, I'm still out of breath. So a couple side notes I do want to make about the unit that I've thought about over the time of using them is A, they do have an IP54 rating, which means they only can handle a little bit of dust and they can only handle a little bit of water spray. So taking for example that I was down there at that waterfall, I was very careful not to get too close to the waterfall and allow the unit to get too wet. You know, anybody who's been down by a waterfall like that know there's a lot of off spray that comes from the waterfall. So even if I stayed out of the water, I was a little bit concerned about the spray of the water that was coming off the falls. The other thing would be just, again, with that, you probably won't want to be using them to walk around, hike, or do any type of hiking in the rain. Or if it's extreme in a situation or a place where it is extremely dusty, that's probably also going to be somewhere where you're going to have some concern using the unit. So something you'd want to keep in consideration if you were thinking about going hiking into the wilderness with these is, I think technically they would be against the rules because you can't have anything mechanized in the wilderness. So if you're doing a hike that's actually within a wilderness boundary, I actually think these would be off limits. So I want to remind you guys as we're wrapping things up here that this is a Gen 1 product, and just think about other products that you've seen in their Gen 1 phases that over a few years they really blossomed and became pretty exceptional. I feel like that's the same thing with this. I already feel like it's pretty cool the way it is, and it does help, but I can only imagine what this is going to be like in the next 5 years, this type of technology with some more research and development. I already see a lot of applications which they don't really recommend at this current point, but I do see some medical applications in the future where people may be rehabbing, trying to come back from an injury, or maybe they've had some kind of surgery, knee surgery or something like that, where a unit like this could be very useful. The resistance modes, I know I didn't talk about that a lot in this review, but I can also see how this could be very helpful for athletes that are preparing for some type of event, or even if just people who want to do a big hike up in the wilderness or climb a mountain or something like that, how they could use a unit like this to help them prepare for something like that. So do I see this as the future of hiking? You know, not for everybody. Maybe for me in the future, as I continue to get older, I really enjoy being out. I'm pretty physically capable now and I don't need them, but I can see that as I do age, a unit like this in a few years could be very helpful in assisting me and helping me to stay engaged in the outdoors like I am now. So anyways, I'm very curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are on this thing and what's your thoughts for applications and where do you see a unit like this developing into the future. Anyways, guys, I hope you found this review helpful. I hope you found something in it useful to you. And if you did, please do give it a like. If you have any comments or questions, please leave those down below. And we'll see you guys again outside.